Hey everybody, it's LPS Emily here. Today we are doing another horrific head swaps. Horrific head swaps is where I will pick two random Littlest pet shops, mesh the head and body together, and try to make it work. Venus here is from my first horrific head swaps, wolf cat head and ant body. Before we begin the video, just wanted to say a quick thank you to Littlest Pet Shop for sponsoring today's video. This is the Disco Nights play pack, which comes with 3 pets and a very interesting disco ball club setup. And if your LPS have any hot takes, it also comes with a podcast mic. This set actually includes one of my favorite childhood LPS mascots, whom I named Jacob, so now he can perpetually live on in the club scene with this pack. This set is a part of Wave 3 and is available now. Alright, if you're new here, this is my wonderful box of body parts. I have any kind of like damaged LPS or doubles of LPS that I have in here. Oh no, Legolas. We have emotional support Miku and Legolas. So here's victim number 1. Oh god. And you know what? I have a bag of extra body parts that I need to use, so I am going to blindly pick a body from here. Trying to not get ahead. Oh. This belongs to a ferret. Oh no. I guess it's horse head on ferret body. I think ferret head on horse body would be a lot worse. So maybe we're better off. Oh gosh, do you believe in me? I don't know if I believe in me. So, my vision for this custom is going to be something of a water and fire dragon. I'm going to remove the horse's mane and sculpt scalloping on the ears and side of the face. I'm going to add a puff onto the end of the tail and try to create wings for the first time on a custom. I'm changing the back legs into longer rabbit-style legs, and I'm going to try to push myself to do more sculpting than I've ever done on an LPS custom before. I'm starting off with the head swap process. There are a couple ways to do this, including boiling water, but I like to use a hairdryer to make the head squishy and pull off the body. I decided to attach the head a lot later so that I could sculpt on both the head and the body separately. We're starting the ball defying process, which I've been kind of doing a lot lately actually. I'll be using a 3000 degree hot knife challenge, and I give her the severance procedure. Dare I say wig? I've never said wig before, but I feel like if there was a time to say it, it would be now. Me after a minor inconvenience. Me after a mining inconvenience. Then I sand off the little bits of plastic that were left behind. I usually do this first, but I'm using 100% acetone to remove the factory paint from the pets. You don't have to do this step, but I like knowing that there's nothing between me and the plastic. No beef, no tea. Last time I removed head fur from a character, I actually had someone tell me in the comments that I should put tin foil in the head so that I use a lot less clay to fill the hole. This actually helped me so much when sculpting, so thank you to the real Baka gal. It also helped keep the shape of the head and widen the head a little bit to make it more dragon-like. Now we're going to add some super sculpty polymer clay onto the head and give her back her long lost cranium. Oh beloved skull, where art thou? People ask me why I use polymer clay. LPS can't go in oven. Oh, and that's where you're wrong. LPS can go in oven. I bake it at around 215 degrees for 10 minutes as to not melt the plastic. That's usually enough time so that it isn't rock hard and doesn't melt anything. And after she's been baked like a cookie, I sand the polymer clay very gently with a nail file to make sure everything is smooth and flush with the plastic. I'm trying my best to experiment with different clays and mediums, and I usually mess up in these kinds of videos, but I like to share my learning progress, so the outcome isn't perfect, but you can kind of see how I'm adapting throughout the whole video. I decided to work on its horns. I roll tubes of polymer clay and turn them into a cone shape by tapering one side. Then I create the shape that I want by forming it onto the LPS's head. Then I use the blunt back of my blade to indent soft lines into the horns. These either look like tiny croissants or maggots, and there's no in between. I sand the sides of the ears before I sculpt on the scallop shapes so that the clay has some grit to stick to, and then I start molding the clay onto the head. I spray some water on the table here to dip my rubber sculpting brush into, just to help get a smoother blend and also help the clay stick to the plastic. I use my finger to support the back part of the clay as I blend the front and sides into the plastic for a seamless transition. I actually really love altering the shape of the head or body. I just find it so satisfying to add some kind of flair to the mold. I love adding tufts of fur or extra texture where I can, just to add some more motion to the figure. I very much prefer using oven-baked clay for my characters, which is slightly problematic because it isn't self-adhesive like epoxy clay or kneadetite is, and it's way more brittle and delicate when fully hard. But I just find it the easiest to blend out and work with for body parts specifically. Okay, time to work on the body. This is where the most alterations have to be done. I first tried to start working on the pom-pom fluff at the end of the tail. I find tufts are kind of hard to style and get right for me, so I needed a few tries. They can either look too Pokemon or too much like a succulent, if that makes any sense. There's probably a rhyme or reason to it, but I'm still figuring out the shapes and patterns that I need to kind of get the fluffy bits that I want. I took a break from the tail to fill in this spot on the back just to smooth it out a bit. I really liked my final go at it actually. It's exactly what I was picturing. I had to start with something a lot more bulbous, and then after I made the center part, I baked it and then started doing the parts on the side.
Baked it? I baked it? I baked it in the oven? Every time I run it to the oven downstairs to like bake it and bring it back upstairs, I feel like I'm saving before I steal something in Skyrim.
Now we're gonna make wing armature. I used an eye pin for this because it has the strength and size that I'm looking for, so I bend it with some pliers and cut it to size. I heat up the hot wire and jam it into the plastic. I repeat the process with the second wing as well. Now I get some polymer clay and start to sculpt the main structure and joint by wrapping it around the wire. I kind of wish I made wings separate and glued them on so that I could really focus on painting the inside and fixing up any texture, but I liked the idea of the base being blended into the body. I didn't really watch any tutorials for this, I just kind of went for it, so this is kind of how I go about it. I winged it, some might say. After baking, I file down the clay until smooth. I struggled with the wing webbing and how to go about the shape and attaching it. I first tried using epoxy-based clay so that it would attach to the polymer clay, but I just really couldn't get the right shape. So my next try was cutting wings out of thin pieces of polymer clay. I used paper to get the perfect shape that I need for the wing by drawing it out, cutting it, and comparing. So I put the paper onto a thinned out piece of clay and cut the shape. Then I blended the webbing portion of the wing onto the appendage using a little bit of water and a rubber tool. And then I work my way down the wing, attaching in little parts. The wings aren't perfectly symmetrical, but wings are like eyebrows? Sisters and not twins? That's what they say, right?
Let me know if you have any favorite fictional dragons or creatures in the comments. I am partial to the jackalope, as well as obviously SCP monsters and creatures. I use a bit of Gorilla Glue to secure them from the back because I don't trust my blending skills. I'm gonna be quite Franklin with you. And I put the super glue on an eye pin to get it into the little crevices.
I really don't hope I break it, but I do have a bit of an idea.
I had this idea to add in some veins into the wings like my original drawing, but for some reason it just felt like anatomically kind of wrong. Maybe it was too straight, so I didn't go with it, but I wanted to show. Okay, the feet. Ooh, there's always one of these points in the video. Ugh. I did not know where to start with the feet for some reason. My initial idea was to just add on to the foot that was already there. And yes, it was a bit too wide, so I had to cut some toes off, and that wasn't working.
I'm listening to this like derpy, jazzy French music, so this all just feels like a sick game. Let's try this this little life hack. God, I'm gonna break something. It's gonna be my own bones. I'm wrapping it around the ankle. Okay? Okay. A little makeshift armature. This is painful for a lot of people, I know it. I'm so sorry. Let's try it. Yeah, we're gonna, yeah. Only up from here, folks. I have at this point successfully fully removed its feeties.
I kept trying over and over until I heated up the wire and inserted them into the feet to make a more sturdy armature. We lost a wing in the process, but I finally made a good decision. I blended the clay in and added some tootsies. I glued the wing right back on after. I wanted the neck fluff to be made out of epoxy clay so I didn't have to rebake the custom again. I made some teardrop shapes and added them to the neck. I actually decided to add more of these on top later because they look too small and patchy and I just wasn't happy with the overall shape.
Before we continue, I want to show you my brand new coffee mug, which is so cute. Here we go. Magic. It's got little stars on it and everything.
When I'm baking the head and body separately and working on them back and forth, I like to attach the two when I'm done sculpting.
Okay, we are going to try to get this head onto this body without breaking anything. Yippee! I got this new and it dries really fast, which feels good. Going to push. Okay, we're gonna need to push a little bit harder. Uh-oh, their head is definitely a little high up. Oh no.
Okay, now I'm attaching the horns with non-quick drying super glue so that I can reposition them. And I made the little teeny fangs and baked them with the horns, but I dropped them.
We have one tooth. No, there's no way we're gonna find it. It's this big. And it's in the carpet now. Oh my god, I lost the other one.
Now I'm dry brushing the figure. Some people like to do this, some don't. I learned recently that polymer clay is also porous and likes to gobble up paint, so I personally feel like dry brushing a white coat does help prime it.
Hey Siri. What did the person, oh god, what's the joke? What's the okay, wait, there's the person who has a thesaurus. They got a bad thesaurus. So what is?
I found this on the web. For what did the person, oh god, what's the joke, what's the wait, stop, wait. There's a person who has a thesaurus, they got a bad thesaurus.
Siri, I have a bad thesaurus and it is,
Okay,
no.
I found this on the web.
And now we start on a white base coat. Now that the base coat's done and I realize that I'm not done sculpting, I'm going to fix the neck tufts. I end up changing the design a little bit at this point because I thought the wings would be too boring without an actual vein texture. I never added extra tufts onto the face from the original design either because I was worried that would be a little too busy. Decided to do some fun lines on the wings instead. If there's no physical texture, I'll just add some visual texture. It was going for some like foamy water vibes, almost, maybe. I have a bit of imposter syndrome when it comes to making customs, and it's something that I'm working on. Validating your own art is difficult, and even though I've been drawing for a very long time now, I still have trouble giving myself credit for the work I do. And the art that you make is valid, and each new piece shows your progress and reflects your personality. I've always found it difficult to fight with that insecurity surrounding my art, but I think now with AI-generated images, we as artists need to be as confident as we can be, because creating art for the sake of creating art and being human is always going to be more important than a robot doing it. That's the end of my TED Talk. I am going to work on this imposter syndrome, but I will always be more of an artist than a machine will be. You're valid. And I wanted to try defining the mouth a little bit more by following the original mouth shape, but also bringing it up in the middle for a cute little uwu mouth.
What if I told you I'm going to put some scalloping on the face? You know, like I always do? The lines on the forehead were looking a little too much like an arrow.
I actually just recently watched Lord of the Rings for the first time. I know. And it was the extended edition, if that helps. So I'm kind of in a fantasy mood right now, and I really liked it. Very fun. I'm sure my partner's thrilled with me showing him 18-year-old memes that he's seen a million times because it's my first time seeing them.
I am going to try painting on a little fang, but I'm not confident. Is that cute? One of my biggest life hacks that I've learned when you're painting is before you touch it, you always need to check your hands. Because when I was making Raymond, I believe I had a ton of black paint. Not a ton, but like enough kind of still tacky on one of my fingers that I left a big fat fingerprint on the back of his head.
For the eyes, I start with the eyelashes and then clean up any mistakes with the base coat and the orangey above the eye color. I then go over the whole eye with white so I can start painting the iris. The layering process of doing the eyes might seem daunting at first, but I got the hang of it pretty quick. I add a little bit of water to some red chalk pastel to do some red detailing.
I kind of want to try a different technique for the eyes. I tried watercolor pencils last time, really enjoyed them. I do have some pastels here with me, and I have this kind of dark gold color, and I would kind of like to try darkening the corners. think that worked a little bit. Kind of just to deepen the color on the edges.
I am so happy with how the yellow turned out. Ah, I love the ombre, and I decided last minute to add a bit of red pastel to the tail, and he's kind of fiery. Like, it's great. It's a little Pokemon, but I like it. I used some super watered down matte Mod Podge to gloss the body. And I use a top coat nail gel to seal the eyes. It makes them super glossy and beautiful. I cured them in a nail lamp for 60 seconds per layer and 90 seconds on the last coat. I usually use thin coats and around 2 maximum. I think I like how he turned out. It was a huge challenge for me to do the wings for the first time for sure. I definitely learned a lot this time about the type of glue I want to use when I glue the head on, how I like to sculpt, the importance of armature, and had fun experimenting with chalk on the irises.